growth rate of price is 1, right? And then the other components are those firms that are allowed to change price, and then they will choose PT star, and then last period they were PT minus 1. Okay, so this is very nice, but the derivation is a little complicated as I show you above, but this extremely intuitive, right? So you can look at the derivation if you like. And then you can log linearize and so on, and then we will have pretty much. So you basically after log linearization, you get rid of those epsilon things, and then make it so this formula looks extremely nice, right? So with similar interpretation as before. For example, if you look at this one, so this is the log price, right? So the log price for period T is a average, right? Weighted average of these two components, the old price plus the new price, right? So it's perfectly reasonable, good looking, very, very good looking formula. So as you can see here, immediately you can see here we have a quite different implication. In those classical models that we have been learning so far, in CIA and so on, the only mechanism that generates inflation is money. If government print more money, you have inflation. But here, there's no money so far, right? You don't need money actually in this model, because the price are those the price set by those firms. And then this aggregate price, right? So we talk about, because when we talk about inflation, you look at the overall price, right? So presumably you want to have a weighted average of all the price of the goods, right? CPI, like a consumer CPI. So as you can see here, you can think of this as the CPI, right? CPI, the weighted average of all the goods. And then here this is the result of price setting, right? By these monopolistic firms. Okay, and here you just put it into inflation term, and you see here the driving force of inflation in this model is this PT star go up, right? So as long as anything that somehow make the firm set higher price, that will generate inflation. And here, through this mechanism, you will have something called the cost push inflation, right? So if you remember in Econ 101, we have different causes of inflation. Maybe you have money, you have too much money, and then maybe you have higher costs for the firm. Let's say you have oil price go up and so on. Now in the classical model, CIA or money utility, this cannot happen. You can never have cost push inflation. Now, if you want to have cost push inflation, you need to go here, using this kind of model. Now, it turns out that this PT star will depend on marginal cost. Okay, and this is quite natural, because if you remember the picture of the monopolistic competition picture, the higher the marginal cost, the higher will be the price set by the monopoly firm. If you look at the picture, it's quite clear. See, if you look at this picture, see, there's an upward shift, right? So if let's see here, may not be clear in this picture, but in the static model may not be clear, but now it turns out in our model, when you look at the optimal price setting behavior, firms will forward-looking, and then they will look at the cost, the marginal cost. And then if they expect high marginal cost in the futures, they will set a very high re-optimizing price. So this is the exciting part. So this is the careful pricing model. So this part is careful pricing, the very famous result. Okay, because it solves how the monopolistic firm will set their price in a dynamic setting. Okay, so here you look at the problem of a firm that get the lucky draw, right? So now I allow you to change price. How do you change price? Okay, so how do you set your optimal PT star? So your optimal PT star, see, you have to, because here we have a dynamic setting, right? So suppose you were the firm. Now this time I am lucky. How do I know next time I will also be lucky? Maybe the year after I might be lucky again, but what about the year after I may not be lucky, and so on and so forth, right? Okay, so here you basically these things will try to capture this kind of forward-looking behavior. The firm will, when they make a decision on what is my optimal price for time T, they will also forward-looking, look at what if next time I'm not allowed to change price, then I will need to stick to the old price, right? Okay? See, this is a very nice problem, right? And also a very natural one. Right? If you think about it, let's say suppose you somehow you know in the future you will never be allowed to reset price again. This is your only chance that you can reset your price. What are you going to do? This is really your only chance. In the future, your name will be dropped forever. You will be disqualified. You will never be allowed to change price again. How will you choose your PT star? Make it very high, right? That's the idea. See if the so if the firm expect in the future the chance of reset the price will be low, obviously they would, if they have a chance, they just set it very high, right? Because they will need to stick to this price for a long time, right? Okay, and similarly, because here we are talking about monopolistic firm, right? So monopolistic firm, you look at if you remember the picture, right? So you remember the picture, the price will depends on the marginal cost, how high is the marginal cost, and the demand, right? So basically all these things will affect the PT star, right? Your optimal choice of the PT star. So if you look at the problem, you will see it is these kind of features. Now forget about these Q things for the moment, okay? So first you want to choose your optimal PT star. Now only one price, right? Not all the entire price for the future, only just the price for time T, okay? But you want to maximize this kind of discounted profit, okay? So this is your revenue, price times your output minus your cost, right? So this is the profit for each period from now on to the future. And then the weight that you discounted is the probability that you will get stuck, right? Theta is the probability of not allowing to change price, okay? So, you have, and here this symbol, a little complicated. So this thing YT plus K stroke T is the output. So here, see, this one is the output in period T plus K for a firm that last reset its price in period T. Then it means that this is the output at time T plus K if you have to stick to the old price that you set at time t. Okay. So based on the demand, so here this is the demand. Okay. You see, this is the output, and so this is the demand constraint. Okay, so here this PT star here, not PT, right? Now why is it PT star? Because here you look at the scenario that at time t plus k, you are still using time t price because you are not lucky enough. See, basically, if you look at this kind of sum, you allow for, so you think of the hypothetical scenario. Suppose next period I'm not lucky. I will need to stick to the time t price. Similarly, for next period, I'm still not lucky. 3 period later, I'm still not lucky. So you are not lucky forever, right? Not lucky forever. Then how would you, then you want to choose your time t price that you will need to use forever, right? Okay. So here you basically solve this problem. Okay, so here the first order conditions. So just standard and here we come back to this Q. Actually, this Q thing is irrelevant for our final result. But this Q thing is just using the same discount factor as the consumer, like the consumption Euler's equation. Okay, so basically the justification is that because the firms are ultimately owned by consumer. Okay, but actually you actually don't need this term. All you need is just the beta k is good enough for the final result. But this is the convention that we use in this kind of model. So basically you look at the first order condition, differentiate as usual, set it to 0. And then after some algebra, you will see that the optimal price is a weighted average of all future marginal cost. So it will depend on future marginal cost. So here you will see the PT star that you are going to choose will depend on a weighted average of all future marginal costs. Okay. And then this is the standard formula for the markup for the static model. So given the Dixit-Stiglitz functional form, this is the markup for the static model. For the dynamic model, you need the standard setup, just like in the picture, plus this kind of weighted sum. And this weighted sum will depend on all these future marginal costs. So these things, and then in order to see in order to get nice formula, one can do log linearizations and so on, and then with quite a lot of work, as I work out every step for you, because the book is just, and the nice saying in the book is, it is easy to show. Now, he said easy to show, I use 3 hours to show, right? So I derive it for you. So I basically derive everything for you, okay? So the offer is not, so don't bother to show. So I show it everything. But the point is really the final result. So the final result is this one. So the final result is that in log linear terms, you have better looking formula for the optimal price. It is that. So in log linear form, okay? But so the economic meaning of this one is just the same as the formula that we showed you before. But just it doesn't look very good and very hard to manipulate. You see here, in terms of the level variable, this PT star, right? Capital PT star is this sum. So basically, it's just sort of saying that the optimal price set by the firm will be a discounted sum of all future marginal costs. Okay, and here in log linear form, this is just carry the same message. Okay, so it is a discounted sum of all these future expected marginal costs and nominal marginal costs, but just make it more manageable in log linear form. And once you have this, then you can kind of look at equilibrium again, and then you need to aggregate up, because here for each firm you have these features, therefore you need to aggregate up all the n firms, okay? And then with quite a bit of work, as I show you here, the final result that you want to get is the new Keynesian Phillips curve, okay, which link up the inflation rate with the real marginal cost. So let me show you the final result. So final result is this one, okay? So with all this work, our goal is to get an expression that explains the inflation rate in the economy. So this is what is known as the new Keynesian Phillips curve, a major result. So these things, if you look at it, is so the current inflation will depends on expected inflation, right? So this forward-looking behavior, and then the driving force of inflation. You see, this one is a expectational difference equation, right? So we call this the driving force, right? So driving force. So driving force is the real marginal cost. Okay, so it's the real marginal cost deviation from steady state. Okay, and the way we derive this formula is out of the sticky price and forward-looking behavior of firms. Okay, and why is there a marginal cost? Because of these monopolistic firms, when they set price, they will look at the marginal cost, and then they are forward-looking, and this forward-looking behavior is what generates these expected terms here. So here, the hard work is really this new Keynesian Phillips curve, because the other part is just the same as before. You see this so-called, so this one is from the consumption Euler's equation, just the same as before, okay? But just in log linear form. So this, the real interest rate can be expressed as the nominal minus the expected inflation, the Fisher relationship. So this one is actually the same as before. And this one is just those monetary policy rules, okay? And the only thing new here is really this new Keynesian Phillips curve. So this is the most basic version of the new Keynesian model. Okay. And then one can have So one can use linear and so on, and then and you will get something that is more consistent with real world data. So in the dynamic example, so we will just input this model, okay? Input this model, and then you can have and the monetary policy shock. You can see it's a good idea to compare with the classical model. It's quite different. This is TIP shock, but the monetary policy shock. I want to look at the monetary policy shock. Yeah, monetary policy shock. So it should be compared with the classical model. So on this side, I compare with the classical model. Let's say the CIA model, whatever. Okay, CIA model would be nice to compare. So let's say I compare the New Keynesian model prediction with the CIA model with monetary growth rate rule. So here are the predictions. Okay, so on this side, this is the New Keynesian model. Is it New Keynesian or what? Yeah. So let's say here, this, but this is a contractionary, yeah, raising interest rate. Yeah. Unfortunately, this one is for positive. Now the monetary shock is opposite. Okay. Now this one is CIA with money growth rate, and then this is an acceleration of money. Okay. Government prints more money, so this is an expansionary monetary policy. Now this one is government raise interest rate. So this is a contractionary monetary policy. Because the book do it this way, so I just replicate the book, but you can see now expansionary monetary policy in the classical model will generate lower output. Okay? And then raise the nominal interest rate. Just opposite to what we normally expect, right? You see here, this one is what you would expect or what you will see when you in the news and so on. Okay, so here, this is a contractionary monetary policy. The Fed raised nominal interest rate. Okay, so this nominal interest rate here is go up. Okay, nominal interest rate go up, and then it is contractionary, right? So the output, you would expect the output to go down, and then go back up again, and then inflation will go down, right? Contractionary monetary policy. Okay, but exactly the opposite happens if you use classical model. So in classical model, here in this picture, we show you an expansionary monetary policy. In the classical model, expansionary monetary policy will generate lower output, right? And nominal interest rate go up. Just the opposite. So you because this is contraction and the other is expansion. So you need to sort of flip it around. So basically, in particular, the movement of the, let's say, the movement of the interest rate and inflation rate is opposite here. And here, you see in the classical model, the inflation rate and the nominal interest rate move in the same direction. Okay, this is lack of liquidity effect. This is known as lack of liquidity effect. And this is not what we observe in the real world, at least in the short run. So in the real world, you say, okay, the Fed raised interest rate, and then inflation should go down. Move in the opposite direction. Okay, this is the motivation behind why the Fed would like to raise interest rate, right? To make inflation to go down. Okay, so this is known as the liquidity effect. Okay, so basically, what we see here is that the classical model will be most useful if you want to explain the long run. Okay, the long run, like a hyperinflation. Okay, in the long run, so government print more money, and then by the Fisher equations, the nominal rate will also go up. So the nominal interest rate, inflation, sort of move in the same direction. Okay, so this will be quite consistent with hyperinflation scenario or in the long run. And then the short run, you observe in the data, we also observe this kind of behavior. Okay, so so basically what happened is that both models are useful. One is for short run, the other for long run. And why is it the case? Because you would expect nominal rigidity will be gone in the long run. Okay, so nominal rigidity is some sort of barrier that the price or the wage will fail to adjust, right? So in the model, we have the price slow to adjust, right? So the classical model is a fully flexible price. So that's why it sort of making long run predictions, right? So here we have long run and short run, and other than that, then we don't. There's nothing new here. Something nice is this Taylor principle. So it turns out it has to do with the multiple equilibria and so on. So here this Taylor rule, right? So this interest rate rule that describes the behavior of central bank. So it turns out that the size of this coefficient is quite critical for the properties of the model. So it turns out that this reaction coefficients of that describe how the central bank set nominal interest rate responding to inflation. This one has to be bigger than 1. Then the model would end up with a unique equilibrium. Okay, so if this coefficient turns out to be smaller than 1, positive but smaller than 1, so it means that the central bank is not aggressive enough in raising interest rate when there is positive inflation, then the model could end up with multiple equilibria. Okay? So when we talk about, in Professor Ludwig's lecture notes, we talk about the solution, right? So solution as Sims method. So we talk about if the number of unstable root is the same as the number of expectational variable, you have unique solution. Okay. So if you have too few unstable roots, okay, fewer than your number of expectation variable, you may end up with infinitely many solutions. And then some of those solutions may not be related to fundamental. And we call them sunspot equilibria. Sunspot equilibria, right? So there are multiple solutions. Okay. So this is the and then it turns out that it has to do with the size of these 5 eyes. So these are very nice results. So in the book you will have these results. That's it, and we only have time to talk about this. So Professor Tam will take over. I don't know what he's going to teach, but he likes to do computation. In his research, he used Fortran and other supercomputer kind of things. So you will learn. So I suppose you will use quite a lot of computer, okay? But I guess he has program for you to run, so it won't force you to do that. So maybe MATLAB or something, whatever. Okay. So